What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO, legend, and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully you guys are doing well and taking care of yourselves. So today I'm getting ready for the podcast and just getting everything set up. So I hope you guys are doing awesome. So hey, this is one of the most important podcasts I've done, and I think it's really, really important for the future of humanity. Not like just to be, hyperbolic in any way, but this is really important because a lot of people are going to be affected by this. All humanity will be affected by this. So what is happening? Well, I've always worked, well, not always, but when I was a kid and throughout my adult life, my family had a bookstore. And when we had a bookstore, guess what? Our main competitor was Amazon. Well, guess what AI companies are doing now? They are and have decided to buy a whole bunch of books that are rare and shred them. Why the hell would they do that, you might wonder? That would be a good question, I would say. Now, you could say, well, what's going on? Is this like 1933 Nazi Germany going on? And you might be right, but I don't think that's necessarily the case, but let's talk about it. So this is in the news right now. So in 1933, the Nazi regime burned books across Germany. Obviously, we know that. So when this happened, poet Heinrich Heine wrote in 1820, over 100 years before Nazi Germany happened, where they burn books, they will ultimately burn people also. If you burn all of human knowledge, you will destroy everything. So why are these large AI companies buying all of these books, some of them rare, and only have maybe a handful of prints dating back centuries? Okay, this isn't just like, Anne Rice's multi-million published book about the vampire Lestat. Okay, this is an interview with the vampire type stuff. This is every ISBN, which ISBNs are basically book codes. Okay, they're codes for books, like the Dewey Decimal System for the entire book population. Okay, so think about this for a second. Think about every single book ever written by man that they can find. They are doing that, and what they're doing is they're taking those books into warehouses, automated, ripping the spines off of the books for faster scanning, so they can scan the entire book and then put it into a digital warehouse, digital storage, a hard drive, and then shred the book. How can they do that? Is that legal? Yeah, they can buy a book. A federal judge said they can buy a book and they can shred it, and they can keep one digital copy. Okay, so this is not governments, not ideologues. This is technology companies doing this. So what are the facts on the ground? So this happened recently. One used bookseller got an order for 400 volumes of different books: history, botany, regional law, German language, economics, medical textbooks, regional cookbooks. And they were happy because they got this huge order and they sent it out. Well, what these AI companies were doing was doing this behind the scenes quietly, so nobody saw or heard about this, so that they wouldn't be put out into public and have bad optics. They actually named the Project Panama, no reason in particular, and they wanted to keep it a secret because they said, well, if people find out we're just ripping books up and shredding them and putting them into a digital copy, that's going to be bad optics. Now, the question is, are they buying every book they can get their hands on? The answer is yes. They're trying to get their book on every book title that they can get their hands on and put it into their digital system, so they can feed AI this information so that AI can continue to learn. Because any book that's predated 2022, it needs to get its hands on. and going back centuries. I mean, there's books that are centuries old that are not, published anywhere on the internet. They want to get it into AI so that it can learn more about humanity, so that it can have the full scope of decision making. But think about that. If it knows everything about us and all of our written history, there won't be anything hidden from AI, will there be? So that's a huge problem. So every title has an ISBN number. You used to work in the industry, so I know what this is. When you're ordering books from warehouses, you're ordering them with ISBNs. So it's a digital fingerprint, okay? It's how researchers and journalists identify what's happening right now, which is them purchasing all these books and then shredding them. The buyers, though, are always shielded behind non-disclosure agreements and shell companies, basically. And they're AI laboratories or companies working for AI on their behalf. Now, the scariest thing is they're doing this at mass scale. This isn't just like, oh, we're going to take a few books and put it on because we don't have them. No, they're buying everything, and then they're putting them into these unmarked warehouses. And these unmarked warehouses have saran-wrapped, books coming in by the millions, and they have automated processes, automated machines ripping the spine off, scanning these things super fast, and then pulping them, shredding them. They don't give a fuck about this book anymore. The problem is that they have to keep or destroy the copy of the book. So they can't just like scan it and then give it to somebody else. They can't do that. They have to keep it as a digital copy, shred the fucker, or keep it. And they don't want to keep it in a warehouse. They want to have the space for more millions of books to come in. So the pages are fed through high-speed document scanners, digital content's extracted, added to the AI training data sets, and then the physical books, the original objects, which is what we should keep and hang on to in somewhere, some shape or form, but they have to be pulped, shredded, or recycled, destroyed, not archived, not donated, not preserved, destroyed. And this is happening at a scale that's difficult for us to basically comprehend. So what these articles are saying, the warehouses that are processing them are doing it around the clock. So to understand why these AI companies are doing this, you have to understand the crisis that basically they created themselves. They're trying to learn more and more based off of more and more AI slop. Well, they can't learn off of a recording. Same thing with taping a tape, is the duplicate is always going to be worse than the original, okay? So every time an AI model generates text that gets published online, the text potentially enters back into the training data, and then the next generation of AI models isn't as smart, isn't as intelligent. It's kind of like inbreeding, okay? So it generates more text, but then it comes back in full circle. So they're trying to get more organic human content by obtaining these old titles and then putting them in. The only problem is they're destroying them at the same time. So what happens inevitably sometime in the future when something happens to these digital warehouses, these digital copies, or we have like a storm that happens and wipes out all data centers. And if that happens, if we continue to destroy all these books, or these books get so weathered that people don't keep them anymore, our civilization will be cleanly wiped out because we won't have anything left for people to come and see or read about, because they won't be able to access these computers. They'll be destroyed. If we have some sort of geomagnetical storm or some other, destructive event, there'll be nothing left. So basically, pre-2022 print runs of books predate the large language era. Okay, so they need everything pre-2022. Now, Project Panama is the project they didn't want you to know about. It was deliberately hidden, and internal documents by multiple outlets, including 404 Media, confirmed through court proceedings, revealed that Anthropic, which is a company that I really enjoy, I really enjoy using, because they're not open AI. They didn't sell out to the man and the government, and they didn't to basically pull a bait and switch and leave Anthropic holding the bag when the Department of War wanted to use them, and the Department of War basically put Anthropic into the scale of, or the segment of being a what do they call it, a supply chain threat. So yeah, big issue there. So they didn't want anybody to know about it, Project Panama, but people found out about it. And through their internal documents themselves, they said that the optics problem is real. An AI company destroying 2 million books is not a headline that generates any sympathy. Okay, guys? So that's important to think about. They did not want anybody to know about it, and they shielded all of their actions with NDAs. The optics problem is real. This is interesting because there's some jokes in here like, you know what other industries had optics problems they solved with rebranding? Cigarette companies called addiction, quote unquote, satisfaction. Oil companies called pollution energy transition. And now AI companies are calling book burning and destruction digital preservation. It's full circle, totally full circle. So, and it's important to note, again, these books that are being destroyed are some of them are regional cookbooks that once you destroy that book, there's only a handful of books left. Like my grandma has a book out, and it's her personal recipes, and there's only a handful of them. And once they get their hands on one of those, that one is totally taken out of circulation, and that might be the only one left. You know, people might have had fires in their homes or lost their belongings, or don't have things anymore. So, and this is interesting. Someone's grandmother's church cookbook from 1987 got spine sliced and pulped just so a language learning model could learn how to sound more human. And even in this article, there is no sentence I can write or say that makes this less disturbing. And that's very true. And again, this isn't illegal. They went to court to make sure that it was okay, because they can't train on pirated digital copies. They have to purchase them. And the rare book problem is huge because there are a lot of rare books, and they know that. They can't get them back. So, it seems like every day there's more and more shit that happens that is out of our control to a degree, and it pisses me off because we shouldn't be destroying any books. I don't care if it's going into a digital feed for AI. Most people are genuinely sick of dealing with AI. And not only is AI burning up too much water, but now they're destroying books. What the fuck, man? That's like destroying humanity, in my mind. So, and they're destroying years and years and years of documented humanity. So, if you look at this from a statistics, problem, millions, maybe billions of books will be destroyed and pulped, and the authors started finally fighting back. Some begun what researchers call data poisoning, subtly encoding their published work with patterns designed to degrade AI model performance when trained on it. That's interesting. It's basically a kind of digital booby trap for unauthorized use. But for the physical books already purchased and destroyed, there's no recourse. The court ruled on that. The books are basically gone. So, what do we have left? What's the conspiracy layer? If we go one level deeper, the documented story is basically alarming enough, right? That's a problem. What if the destruction of the books isn't just a side effect of the data acquisition? What if it's part of the point? Here's a scenario, just labeled as speculative, right? The companies that are doing this are amongst the most sophisticated organizations on the planet. And they have access to unlimited capital. We know that. They employ the smartest people in the world, and they pay them a lot of money. They know that destroying rare books generates bad press. Their own documents confirm that they know this. They could scan the books and donate them. They could scan and preserve. They could scan and return to library systems. They could scan and deposit with the Library of Congress, but they chose not to do any of that. Why? One answer, economics. It's cheaper to shred than to process returns, and that's 100% true. If you want to process returns, you got to pay for delivery, pay for somebody doing it, and doing it on the other side and receiving it. The other answer is legal protection. The Bart's ruling, which was the ruling on them being able to buy a book and then destroy it, was based partly on the fact that the physical copy was destroyed, suggesting that that the destruction is legally strategic, not just logistically convenient. And the third answer is that this is another speculative one, is that the destruction is intentional because the goal is not just to acquire knowledge. The goal is to become the sole accessible repository of it, which was my concern at the beginning of reading about these articles, was that they were just destroying these books and put them in AI, and that they were buying all of the copies of those books. Now, I did research and found out that that wasn't true, luckily. But again, they are still destroying the copies that they purchase, which leads to the ultimate reduction in the overall population of the books. So if the book exists in a library, a reader can consult the original, which is nice. It can compare it to what AI says, and it can verify it because AI hallucinates. But if you have the physical book, you can read it for yourself. So this is causing like a resurgence in sales in book shops all over the world, all over the country especially. And eventually, though, this is another concern, is that we might get to a point in history where all of information of books is controlled by these AI companies, and then they may gatekeep it from humanity in the future as well. Well, what happens if they gatekeep it? Somebody's going to have to pay for knowledge. Right now, knowledge is free for the most part, other than when you have to pay for a book you want to read online. But you can get the general gist from reading reviews and things like that. You can get the book. You could borrow a book from somebody even if you want to. But digitally, you would have to buy it. And then what if they revise it? The nice thing about published books, and this is why first editions are so valuable in the book community, is because it's unchanged, it's unaltered. It's the first edition, and it's the first printing, and it's valuable. It has not been revised, has not been changed. Every word was the original published print of the author and the publisher. When you start getting into later books, they can become revised, they can become changed. And that's not what people want. They want the first edition. And if those are gone, they're gone forever, right? You can't reprint an original print. And that's why, like if you look, and we're wrapping this up now, if you look at 48 BC, the Library of Alexandria was burned. And scholars basically still argue about exactly how much was lost. It was, whether it was one catastrophic fire or a ton of fires, all of that information was lost, and they spent 2,000 years since then basically mourning over the loss of the library. And I wonder if in 200 years will people be mourning this event? Because if for some reason the data centers go bye-bye and all of the hardware goes bye-bye, or it gets demolished in some sort of attack from Russia or, China, and they EMP all of our data centers or something like that, and all of our information is gone, and there's no books left, we're fucked. Okay. Now, going back to, the future, this isn't like a dystopian future. This is right now in warehouses on pallets, one spine slice at a time. These robots are destroying books. The question I keep coming back to is if the knowledge that was in those books now exists only in the AI systems that hallucinate, distort, and that are owned and controlled and monetized by corporations, what version of human knowledge survives? That's the key change, right? It's because history was written by those that won. Well, right now, AI systems are winning. AI companies are winning big time. And if they decide to change history, they can do it. Whose version will it be? You have to keep your own books. So stay awake, stay skeptical, stay aware of what's going on in the world. Build your own little mini libraries of the books that are most important to you, that you want to share with your family moving forward into the future generations, because they are real. They hold a lot of value. And write your own books as well, because if you put your book online, even into like Google Docs or something like that, it can be revised somehow, some way. So keeping a pen and paper handy. Even if you keep physical copies of it, you take it to a company or the library and you make a physical copy of your book. You have a physical copy that you can hand down to your children. So anyway, think about that. It's important. All right. I'm going to let you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. It's super important. Do your own research. These companies, it's just like going, it just seems like it's getting worse and worse and worse. So I hope that we turn things around and things get a little bit better. So anyway, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Continue to follow through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. Stay healthy. Stay positive. Do what you can to keep human knowledge with humans. All right, guys. Take care of yourselves. Lockdown Universe out. Peace.